attendance.
Yes.
Could I have a motion to approve the agenda, please?
That's a move.
Moved by Councilor Forbes, do I have a seconder?
Second.
Second by Councilor Stibb. Sorry. Any declarations of conflict of interest this evening? Hearing none, we're good. We have no correspondence. So we'll move right into new business. I guess this kind of pertains to me. I've been asked to give a talk Thursday night at the Keswick Island Property Owners Association AGM. And as we all know, we're going over the rural planning. The islands are a bit of a talk of it. We asked Rahab and Melinda the other night, said they had to go get more information and they didn't have enough to talk about on them. I went in Friday to the Capital Service Commission, talked to Lonnie, Rahab, and Melinda. They had a little bit more information at that time, not a lot. Duncan and I have discussed it quite thoroughly. And I even went to legal consulting last evening to get their opinion on the act. We're under an act here on the rural community, which is the Government Reform Act, and they're under an act which is the Island Act of 1968. So it's unclear which entity really has superiority over the land use on the islands. And I didn't want to get myself say something at the AGM when I give them a talk that I had to try to back out of later, so I want to try to get my facts either completely straight up front or maybe not get into anything too concrete. So anyway, just with all the chats I've had, it seems as though it's still unclear, but it may be government has the superiority, their act has superiority over any other act, but that's still not completely clear and determined. So I won't go down that road and say it's definitive on Thursday night. So I don't know how many of you have ever seen the Keswick Island Act. Have any of you ever seen it?
No.
It's had a couple revisions. I can pass this one around this way. And this is a revision of 1979, and what was added mainly was Section E. And all of these pages are under Section E. So just take a minute and look at this, and then I'd like to get your guys' input on maybe what you think I should, that's the 1979 revisions. Get you people's opinions on what maybe I should say and not be too definitive in what I say, especially till we get this rural planning worked out and done. Anything else I need to move on that? You had a peek, Jared, and any input?
So what's our end goal here for this digging into the act?
I guess the end goal to me is it's in our rural community. Do we have a say on the planning aspect of that at the end of the day? Or do we have to just stay clear of it? And I do believe, from what I hear in the association, because I'm also a director there too, I think they're quite willing to work with us. They just want to gather their thoughts and get them to the table here so that they have a little bit of input on this rural plan.
Which I think, as a rural community who's very restriction of anything down there for agriculture, but there's also islands that are having zero agriculture done, and have had nothing for many years because they're financially inaccessible, there's no way to get equipment over there, there's no way to do things, so it'd be nice to maybe look at some of those other islands and what future use could be, although it floods, so that has to be taken into consideration, but I think it's kind of anything that we do here, we have to keep right at the forefront of our mind, which I'm very certain that that is already on your mind.
The act is agriculture use only.
Yeah.
And in the long term, if you do something with the lower pieces of the islands, if it's, just say, for example, if it happens to be recreation in agriculture, that would have to have something differently done to go that route. And whether the association agrees to that or not, I have kind of think they might be leaning that way a little bit for the lower islands.
So, one way or the other, we may either be able to say we could, if the legal decision was ever made, or if we go that deep, if we could supersede, if the Rural Planning Act could supersede their Keswick Islands Act, we could work together with them to designate some of the lower islands for other usage potentially. Or if that's not an option, we could work with the association if their act is the home base for here, and maybe get them to put a small amendment in there for other uses on the lower islands. Is that the kind of two paths that we have?
Yes. Yep. One, like on the act, they have their bylaws, and they have their officers and whatnot, and that's something that they need to keep doing that, moving ahead. They get a fund from NB Power every year to keep the roads on the islands, and they have to be able to collect that and administer that. I don't believe that's something that we ever want to, that's micromanaging. I don't believe we need to get into that. They try to collect levies or a fee per acre to try to keep the association floating. That hasn't gone well in a few years, but I think they're trying to watch that out. So anyway, part of the chat, then I'll just ask them to see if they have any interest in exploring the lower end of the islands for more than one use. As you know, a lot of them are being peeled off into, well, the municipality has purchased some, and then there's private companies that own a couple islands. Green Lake owns a small piece of one of them, and Green Lake Camp, that is,
So where there's another municipality that has purchased property that fall under the Keswick Islands Act, there's potential that they will have to come to either us or the Keswick Islands Association if they also want to have different usage for that property they purchased.
they can use that for nothing other than agriculture purposes right now.
Unless they go through the same channels.
And even the property we're trying to acquire, we cannot, that's only agriculture use, even though if we purchase it, so. See, the way this original act reads is, the association may make bylaws defining its policies and procedures, and that's where you get into the governance of your association, your officers and whatnot, and governing the conduct of its affairs and business. They can do that on their own, within house, and then it goes on to say, the association, with the approval of Lieutenant Governor and Council, may make bylaws establishing common right-of-ways, grazing areas, levying fees on an acreage basis, creating offenses and prescribing penalties for any violations of the bylaws. So some of them can be done in-house, and like I say, the others have to go and go through cabinet and be approved by cabinet and lieutenant governor. So that's part of what an act does, and even if we tried to make changes in the act, it would have to go the same route, wouldn't it, Duncan? It would have to go to legislature, they'd have to approve it, not change something that's in the act, they probably wouldn't let us anyway.
No.
But if they did, it would have to go through the same procedure that we have change, so. I'm just saying that because the last part of this fits the same format, so.
So did they invite you to speak as mayor or as landowner?
I'm speaking as mayor, that was the agreement.
And did they specify what they wanted you to clarify?
They wanted me to clarify whether we had superiority over the land use, which we can't determine that, and I've let them know that. But what they're interested at the end of the day is give us the talk, tell us what you're thinking, and then they want to be at the table with some information, not necessarily sitting here. They want to be at the table with their info. Because they have David Coburn on it, who's an island owner. I'm on it as an island owner, so they have, ample opportunity to bring forth what their desires are. If it's ever figured out who has the superiority of it, and I'm not sure. At the end of the day, do we need to worry about the real superiority, or do we get more done if we work together?
Wouldn't lawyers be versed on that?
Well, I had lawyer consultation yesterday, and the thought was that government has superiority over anything else, even if it's an act.
Government is in local government?
Municipal government, provincial. We are government here. That's one legal opinion.
I would still suggest that we approach this as a collaborative approach with them.
Yes.
Because one, we want their buy-in as community stakeholders
Exactly.
as much as anything. And there could be reasons why they feel that it's not appropriate to do any modifications to their bylaws, but that's a conversation I think we have to have as a group with them, or however that needs to play out. But yeah, I think a collaborative approach is probably a lot better. Once they understand the intention, they're gonna see this most likely not encroaching on anything that they're doing now or future.
Well, and I think it's reasonable to say there's a lot of history behind this, and how that relates to today is unclear. However, we want to work with you.
And being pretty open to understanding that there's other private entities and municipalities that have purchased property. We have looked into it ourselves. If that was to ever happen, is there anything we can do with this property that could benefit community members? Benefit the residents, whether that be, some sort of recreational something or not. I can't think of anybody, the few that I know that are on the board and around, I can't think of any of them that would be opposed to that idea in theory. In practice, but there is always outlying opinions on what that could turn into, so I think the intention would have to be very clear on what we think may happen or could happen in the future, and kind of go from there.
If there are changes on the lower ends of the islands, then we're paving the way for future purchases of municipalities or private corporations or whatever.
Yeah.
And I really believe we need to keep that in mind at the end of the day. Maybe Central York, should we be down there or should we not be down there? Because we, like I say, we're one way or the other, we're opening the road if that's what we do.
Which would mean that we would have to be very careful on the wording of any modifications or amendments, whether it was in collaboration with them or not, to ensure that it's still protected for whatever we deem is appropriate. Don't want to see a high-rise apartment built there because it floods anyway, so.
I think that'll happen. I've often wondered if they can build a jail there, but I don't think that'll happen.
There is risk to this even further. They've talked over the years of Third Fredericton Bridge, which one of the things that holds that up is a location. And a location where you can put piers on islands could be very beneficial, but it could open up the province taking an opportunity to do that as well. I don't see it in the next year or two, but
No, I don't neither, but that would be expropriated if that was the
If
desire that
they wanted to, yeah.
Yeah.
they still can't use it for anything but agriculture.
Mhm.
And a bridge pier would be, not agriculture. Just stuff I go through.
Any other input of what I might get into tomorrow night, or anybody? Okay, anyway,
I have something.
yes,
Based on the act and the current bylaw, for agricultural purposes only, it doesn't address hunting. And if you read through the bylaw, you're not supposed to erect any type of a structure within 5 meters or on any shoreline, on any island, so that means anything. So, if there's gonna be collaboration, like, that should be a chat, because obviously that's a popular thing.
Even hunting,
Yeah.
so structure would have to be defined
Like,
first.
well, it's in there, like, you can't put up anything, like, you can't disturb the ground. So I'm talking like a blind for bird hunting.
Yeah, that could be interpreted.
Right. I'm just saying that agriculture is just strictly agriculture, no hunting, but I'm just saying like against or for hunting, but
There's
like, but it's a popular thing in that area.
there's members of the board, members of the Island Owners Association that are very anti-hunter
Yes,
at this point as well,
yes.
and trying to keep that locked down.
Yeah.
But
But there are others that are supportive,
yeah,
so that's why I think like if you could figure out something for the lower islands, you know, or what have you, like
Well,
that.
a little background. There's not much hunting use on the lower islands because the reason that it is popular on these islands is because of agriculture. There's so the lower islands, even if you wanted to hunt them, there's really not much point behind it because the birds don't go to those islands. They go to the ones where there's corn and soy.
Understood.
Yeah, that's why. Because I see where you're going with that, like usage for potential hunting and stuff like that. But there's other ways too. Is your boat just has to be not on shore, and you can hunt under your boat this far from the shore and not be under any violation of the act, as long as you're not touching ground. So there's other ways that they're gonna be able to do stuff. But the reason that it's popular down here is because of the attraction of the animals,
Feed.
the feed, which always in the past, and I'll be honest, I've hunted down there lots myself. A lot of the farmers, it was a reciprocal arrangement where, you know, some nuisance wildlife would be able to be taken care of, whether it be, you know, hiring a trapper that's licensed to trap animals to keep out of your crop, or nuisance deer permits through DNR, or many of these other paths that the hunters and farmers had a reciprocal arrangement, which has been deteriorating over the last number of years. For any number of reasons. Some of it being that some disrespectful hunters driving across property and destroying property, which absolutely is not good. But
I'm just saying that if there's something that was agreed upon, it should be worded like, well.
there would have to be something well defined, I think, if we were to open that up. And I mean, property owners still own their own property and they can deny anybody access to it individually by lot anyway. So even if the act said that, oh yeah, free for all hunting, and a landowner decided that that's fine on your property, but my property is no hunting,
That's true.
that I think that's the right of a landowner. I don't think you can take that away if they own the property, but the framework might help some of them alleviate some of their stress if it was proper framework, and maybe consequences to not following it, which there really isn't right now, other than a stern talking to, which if I was a landowner, I would feel that wasn't enough by times, because
When does bird season usually start?
October 1st runs till 2 weeks after New Year's now. So it's like, it's a long season.
it's been extended 2 weeks last year, right?
Yeah, for duck only, I think for goose still ends New Year's. Yeah. But,
Okay, so nothing else on that? Good. See how much trouble I can get myself in. Go on from there. Not on the agenda is the trails. I was to the commission today, to the infrastructure committee meeting. And it was about trails, connectivity, and what can be done with trails. So I'll just give you a little bit of the info they went over. There's 894 kilometers of snowmobile trails in the Capital Service region. There's 133 kilometers of cycling. But when I looked at the map that Gemtech provided, the cycling come from the city and stopped at a crossing just up the road here. So I asked them, I said, like, this rail bed, I said, people cycle frequently. I said, that goes clear almost to Woodstock pretty much. I said, why are all these kilometers and that's not shown on the map? Well, we don't have all this documented correctly. So at the end of the day, what did the figures really mean? So anyway, I think they're willing to probably amend, they're gonna have to amend. So anyway, the talk went on, and I didn't realize they classified it in so many different sections. There's pedestrian and multi-use trails, natural and hiking trails, cycling trails, mountain bike trails, equestrian trails, snowmobile trails, and never was ATV ever mentioned at any point today by Jim Tech or any of the members, which I thought was a little strange. And then there's another special feature that they call paddling and launch sites, which I guess is waterways. They're classing as a trail. So, in connectivity, it seemed to take over because that's what it was supposed to be about anyway. How do you people see connectivity with other municipalities? Like, what I said to them was, we've got a massive river here, and it's almost like we've got two different entities in the Capital Service Commission. We can't cross those rivers, that river, on most of the fixed links that are in. So how do we connect the southern part of the Capital Service Commission with the northern part? What's the goal? So anyway, what come out of that was there's a ton of money for anything any transportation that's non-motorized. So whether that would get you a link across the dam on the side beside the highway to get to the other side, I don't see it happening on the West Windsor Bridge. I don't see it happening on the Princess Margaret Bridge, but maybe if there was something on the dam, if there was funding that could be provided for that, or I don't know.
They were able to provide quite a bit of funding for the snowmobile trail on the new International Bridge near Edmiston. They had
That was brought up.
a major redesign for the snowmobile trail being directly attached to that structure.
And Miramichi also, I think.
Miramichi is going to be repurposing the old Anderson Bridge, which was being decommissioned when the new bridge opens, to be a trails bridge for snowmobiles and ATVs. Yep.
What do you see as a connectivity with Hanmon, Maryland, Harvey?
Oh,
That south side of the Service Commission,
Right now, if you want to go get over to Harvey, we do have a trail system that connects there. It goes through, it's not through us, it leaves us in Millville, but goes up the old spur line rail bed in Nanaquik, and then use the highway usage permit that they have in place to get across the Pokiok Bridge, and then takes you up into Flat Top Mountain, the trail system that connects in the backside of Harvey. So there is a connectivity, but it's a long trail. It's a big day to go there and back, and there's not much of a loop. It's more of a one way and back.
Would there be any desire for the Service Commission to try to drive them to, let's say, let's cross the power dam somewhere?
If they could ever get the dam more than one lane and have a highway usage permit on the dam with rules that surround it, that would be the only way to connect there. But I don't know if you'd ever see the province allow that with the amount of restrictions they've had on that structure.
But that's right on the main highway.
Yeah.
Would there be any chance to get funding to put one to the other side of that curve, build that out and put it on the other side?
Put on the other side of the dam?
Yes.
I think after the redesign on that road structure for the dam, they had to put in one that they're currently working on. It would probably not take a meter load for an ATV trail with a lot of upgrades and money, and that's just a guess. I bet that would be a big one. Plus, there's no good side to put it on. You put it on the outside, there's the gates that are in the way, so you can't really go across the whole thing, even if you were to suspend it. On the mud dam side, you probably could, but once you get to the gates, you'd have to build out around it. I don't know if that structure I don't know if you find anyone that would want to explore that or not. That's a big deal.
Mhm. Do you know of any other alternative? Snowmobile's not a problem.
Snowmobile's not a problem across the head pond when the season is correct, when you have enough ice, but there's nowhere below the dam that you can cross on a snowmobile safely any time of the year because of the fluctuating water level. things, like, that's why the barges and, ferries were all given to their local association, because they wanted to get out of this maintenance. Um, Yeah, I mean, take the ferry, put a longer cable across down in the Grand Pass,
Yeah.
but, yeah, I don't know if there's a real good solution.
Anyway, it's something that can hang on your minds and try to see if there's some kind of a connectivity and what might happen.
I think, myself, if we're gonna try and connect anywhere, we should try and connect to Nashwauk Valley. That one's got an actual, potential, and then it connects on the trail system, which goes all the way to Miramichi.
But I don't think there's a problem connecting
There's
the
no
north,
legal connection.
the north side municipalities. I think that could be done.
Yeah, I think that's where our focus should lie, to connect the south side. The St. John River is extremely limiting and cost prohibitive, but to link the north side of it, I mean, you can get across in Naquip if you wanna go to Harvey, so it is possible. But to have an actual proper signed linked trail system that says you can leave Birch Corner and go to Durham or go up to Boys Town would be more beneficial, I think, to
The city's already working with Nashwauk. They've almost come to a conclusion of connectivity trail.
yeah.
So,
But that's from the city side, there's no way for us to get from Central York to the city below this. So we wanna get
right,
across,
but if we could get to that connection, then we would have,
depends on where it is.
we would have access to Nashwauk.
The only connections over their trail system that are viable are, there's a snowmobile trail, but it's not much of a trail in the summertime because it turns into a small hydro line going up by the Hurley Road, Hurley Warming Hut and down over the hill. It's a swamp in the summertime, it's frozen in the wintertime, so its snowmobile trail is fine. That's about as far east as you could go, unless you could get into Claudia, come back to, McLeod Hill, and then duck into the hydro line there, but even then, again, swamp. There's lots of options potentially from our trail system that connect up to some of the, Crown Land roads that cross over to like Royal Road and then cross over like Tay Creek and back in there, or go into Stanley and then backtrack in that way. There's a few different options there, but none of them are marked trail systems, they're just woods roads.
Right, it's something that's gotta be worked on to try to find this, the viability of these. So what they're saying, Gemtech's coming up with his next steps, more reliable trails, which you just talked about, because snowmobiles are fine, but in the summer you've got mud holes and all that. Now, the social economical benefits, there needs to be a master plan. And then tourism and, what's their name? 3 names, tourism,
Heritage and culture.
heritage and culture. They were at the table today also, but they concentrate more on the whole province. Many provinces in the whole province, to bring tourists in from Ontario, Quebec, and the US and whatnot. But anyway, the service commission is there with the Gemtech deal. The thought is to get, the service commission, try to get it connectivity to some degree, so. Anyway, you can think of all those things and try to come up with stuff. I talked to, Neil about the hops there on the weekend, and they're still working on that. They haven't got that fully documented yet to bring to council, so. We're getting close on time. You all got the RCMP. That was in the service commission package I have for this coming Tuesday night. And there is a Central York News that I think our administrator has printed out of that. You can look at.
It's not the same as yours, so that's the weird part.
Is it?
Is there a second page in there for something you wrote?
No, okay.
No, I'm talking to you. Is there another page in there for something you wrote?
It's the Central York market. What's the quarterly on that? Would be the 3rd quarter, isn't it?
Do they have one for each quarter? I just printed out the one I saw. It doesn't look like they're gonna come and give us an outlook, numbers. I've asked twice and no reply, so.
That's the only one I see in my package, but mixed up here or not, but this is the one that came today. And they're in alphabetical order, so. Oh, here's another one here, that's where you got it.
So there's a second.
Yes. And I'm guessing that is quarter one, I think. That is quarter one, so the one that you people have is quarter one that you printed out. Quarter two is a little bit different numbers. There's about 358, if you have the template in front of you. Occurrences was 358, property crimes was 63, crimes against 38, other criminal code offenses 32, traffic offenses 6, controlled drugs and substances 1. On down to the criminal code occurrence, other criminal code 30, mischief 24, other violations involving violence and threat 19, assault 17, break and enter 11. And then you get into the non-criminal code occurrences as you, I don't know what your numbers are, but anyway, it's 102 for the second quarter for the non-criminal. Traffic non-criminal 73, provincial statutes 38, federal statutes 5. And then you go down to the non-criminal code occurrence subtypes. And you get into non-criminal code occurrences other 71, provincial statutes 38, traffic collision 36, traffic violation provincial 36, assistance files 27. So there you have 2 quarters in front of you of one, and as our administrator says, he's having trouble getting an answer from them appearing to council, so it looks like maybe they're just gonna do this through the service commission, and I'll try to get you the report each time that it comes out to give you the page in Central York, so.
I don't find this overly helpful.
No. We discussed that this afternoon, and it was just, it has ink.
To me, we need someone to come at least a couple times a year and explain to us what it is they're doing to help with crime prevention and policing in our community. This is what we would call lagging statistics or lagging data. We need leading data, which is what are they going to do about this?
I would disagree at all. It's quite useless. So what do we want to try to do about that?
Is Sergeant John not around?
He's missing in action.
Well, he's gonna have somebody carrying it.
There's Ryan, I think it's Ryan Lewis.
I think we need to,
Duncan didn't get any much response there, so.
I think we need to up the pressure on them to have somebody come and, it's not that we wanna hold their feet to the fire as such, we just want to understand what this means for our community. Are things improving or getting worse? And I think we kind of figure that out based on some of these statistics. But more importantly, what are they going to do to serve our community so we can give some concrete answers to people in our wards? That's not unreasonable.
I fully agree with you. That's,
So at the service commission, did they just give you those statistics, or was somebody there to like talk through it?
no, was there? No. And what's happening at the service commission lately, you people don't have the agenda in front of you, but we have an audit committee, a public safety committee, oversight committee report, community development committee report, economic expansion committee report, regional infrastructure committee report. And then there's one motion. To adopt consent agenda, I move to receive the items identified in this consent agenda. That's it. That's what we get at the service commission. So you're approving all of those 7 reports in one. It's up to each director to look through these before the meeting. If they have questions, then they need to bring them up when the question period comes up after these get motion. But they just in the last probably 3 months moved to a consent agenda, which I'm kind of disappointed in, but anyway, it's the way it is. I'm 1 out of 4 out of 14. So.
Is there any discussion as to whether RCMP or policing in the past jurisdiction is actually coming to councils to give updates?
the date on this?
The first quarter is, April 1st to June 30th.
So who are the RCMP responsible to then for their numbers and whether it's satisfactory or not?
The province, basically. The province hires them,
Public
fires
safety?
one to each municipality and charges us for it.
Public safety? So maybe we need to take it up with public safety and say we're not
The
happy.
public safety minister.
So maybe we need to.
We're
do
not
a
happy
public
with
safety
what they're
commission.
doing. In terms of how they're reporting back to us.
See, the last time I met with public safety minister, it was the other side of another government. And we were given all the details of how many more officers had been hired, where they were going, how many they expected to have at the end of that hiring. It was, I think, with the criminal and the highway, I think it was in the 70s. That's the same as what Sergeant Luzon basically told us here. So that's what Minister Austin told us at the time when we met with him, so that's.
I have a suggestion. Our MLA in Central York is the official opposition for public safety, I believe, or he's the minister in charge of the official opposition for public safety, however that's worded. I'm wondering if we should reach out to him to see if he can do a little bit of a reconnaissance for us in some way, at least ask the question. I don't know how far it'll get us, but I feel that's a pretty official channel where he is our MLA that represents Central York.
I believe that's all documented. Right? Okay, we'll do that. We just have very few minutes, 2 or 3. Is there any other new business from anyone? Sorry I took so long on these other avenues.